Hello, Miss Caryl Bryer Fallert/Gentry.
Hi, Ricky.
Boy,
Wow.
that's almost a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah, it just gets longer and longer, but oh well. So, but that's kind of part of my news because I was just Caryl Bryer Fallert when we recorded the show, which was almost a year ago.
Right.
And in this year, earlier this year, oh, come over here. I
There he
married
is.
this wonderful man, Ron Gentry.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ron, how's it going? So, Karis, tell us all about the big news. And Ron, stay right there for a second.
Well, we got married on January 11th at the National Quilt Museum in a very private ceremony. And then we had a big blowout wedding reception the last day of Quilt Week here in Paducah, where we had 250 people and all our quilting friends could come.
Now, I got to be there. That was fantastic. It was beautiful.
And everybody danced. It
Yes,
was great.
it was wonderful.
Quilters can dance.
Wonderful. So, Ron, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I am very
to
lucky.
both of you. I mean, you're still a bit in the honeymoon stage still.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you bet.
That's great. Well, thanks for stepping in because we wanted people to meet you, Ron. Thanks.
Okay. We'll see you later.
So that's wonderful news, Carol, and I'm sure that's going very well for you.
Yes, it is.
That's great. Now, I'm looking at the quilts that are behind you, and I think I'm recognizing those as quilts that we were talking about in the episode that you shot with the Quilt Show.
Exactly. The one back here was the one that we just kind of pieced the last corner on the show. And this was all in strips. These were the Fibonacci strips that we had in the show. So here they are finished and ready to go to my big 30th anniversary show in Houston next week.
Wow. Okay. So tell us all about that exhibition.
Well, I realized a couple years ago that this would be the 30th anniversary of making my very first art quilt in 1983. And I decided I'd like to make 30 quilts for 30 years. And at that point, I had started making quilts that were 30 inches square. And I thought, okay, I'll just make them all 30 inches square. So it was going to be the 30-30-30-30 exhibit, except that the curator at the National Quilt Museum thought that was a really stupid title. So we're calling it 30 Quilts for 30 Years. And it's going to premiere at Quilt Market and the International Quilt Festival in Houston at the end of October.
That's very exciting. That's great. And then is the exhibition going to continue to travel?
It will. It will come here to Paducah to the National Quilt Museum from December through March. And then, of course, it will be at the Briar Patch Studio Gallery during Quilt Week next year in April. And then it will be traveling to some of the other quilt museums around the country.
I think that's wonderful. And people can find out the specific locations of the exhibition by going to your website?
Absolutely.
And
yeah, we just go to our gallery page and click on 3030. You can see all the quilts and see the traveling schedule.
Okay, and the web
there
address?
There are a few gaps, so, we may have a few more things to add.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, and one more time, the web address is?
BryerPatch.com. That's BRYERPATCH.
Good. Hey, Carol, let me ask you a couple of questions about your artistic sense. You and I have been friends for a long time, and I can remember the day when you were on a pedestal, and you still are, a huge inspiration to me. But I've always been attracted to your designs. And tell me a little bit as an artist, why you have a lot of organic designs. I know the Fibonacci one is very structural and geometric, but most of the things that we know you for are very organic. Where does that come from?
Boy, I don't know, but when I was a painter, I did very curvy things, and I'm just drawn to things in nature that have those shapes that repeat over and over. I mean, a lot of the designs I make could be underwater animals or plants or feathers. I just like those organic shapes. Not sure where that comes from.
There's certainly a lot of movement, and I think that quilters, especially back whenever you were really pioneering fresh new designs, it wasn't common to see designs with those kinds of flowing curves and movement. And I think you've helped quilters understand that it can be more than just a square or block or half square triangle and
Right.
typical applique designs.
Well, I think people worked in repeat blocks because it was a small package to work on at any given time in the sewing machine. And then also curves were hard when you had to turn them over and sew from the back and hope everything came out and then pick it out and redo it if it didn't. And I developed this appliquing, which we showed during the show in 1989 so I could survive the designs. And,
Yeah.
and it's easy.
Yeah, I think it's first of all, when I watch the show and I'm reminded that it is easier than it looks, and that's
Right.
kind of the magic trick, is that you can do it. It's not
Right.
extremely difficult to do what you're teaching.
It isn't nearly as difficult as matching the points in the middle of an 8-pointed star.
I'm with you. I agree wholeheartedly. All right, now I understand that there's some news that's freshly come to fruition that probably is a mixed blessing of sadness and very great happiness.
Yes, well, it's very bittersweet news. When Ron and I spent the summer in Port Townsend, Washington this year, we found a wonderful home right around the corner from where we were that has a fabulous studio space overlooking Puget Sound in the tall fir forest. And we are eventually going to relocate there full time, which means that my fabulous studio that I gave everybody a tour of during the show is actually going to be for sale. And so I'm hoping that another artist will adopt it and use it for the same thing that I used it for.
Right, and
It's such a great community here. I know that whoever ends up with my building is going to love it here.
absolutely. So you'll still have the building and the studio and your exhibition when Paducah arrives in 2014?
Oh yeah, we will still be here for Quilt Week of 2014, and the whole 3030 exhibition is scheduled to be here.
Okay, and then
So,
following that,
right.
who knows?
And, I mean, if somebody wants to buy the building before that, they just have to rent the gallery back to us during Quilt Week.
That sounds like a
Gotta be here.
That sounds like a pretty good plan. Well, thanks for sharing your time with me today.
Oh, well, thanks for inviting me. It's great to talk with you, and I love your new beard.
Oh, yeah, my goatee is getting a little long. This is the first time that people have seen it quite this long, so I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments on that.
Yes, I'm sure you are.
Have you seen Duck Dynasty?
No.
I wouldn't think that you would, but there's this show where the guys have they're really long. I'm going to see how long it goes before I have to get rid of it. So
Yeah. Well, when you start getting it caught in your sewing machine, that's when you'll know.
there you go. That's great. Caryl, thanks for chatting today. Okay,
Thanks,
love you.
Ricky.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Love you too. Bye-bye.